Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm with my bro, a person I've actually admired before I even knew the word Bitcoin, Alex Mashinsky, the co-founder of VoIP. One of the greatest inventions since sliced bread. I've used VoIP before I even knew about Bitcoin, so I'm a big fan of yours from the legacy side of things, and I found out about Celsius and became a fan all over again. So thank you so much, Alex, for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for showing up at our event last night.
Oh, dude, the event last night was really awesome, man, and I liked a lot of the grilling questions that people were giving you, and like how quick everybody on the team was to answer them, even though like they felt like they were asking hard hitting questions. Like where's the money come from? How do we stop the loss? But do I get to keep my keys? A lot of people were like, freaking out a little bit, but it was really cool to see like those common concerns for people that they have about this industry. It's the basic questions are still on the table. People still have the basic fundamental questions to this day. So it just goes to show how early we are right now.
Right, and look, if you don't have good answers, then people should not give you their coins. I mean, part of what we pride ourselves with is the fact that Celsius Network is acting in the best interest of our depositors. Right, we always represent the coin holder, and if we don't have great answers about custody or about how we earning the income or how we get collateral or are they safe? Who are we storing the coins with?
Yep.
All these are critical questions, and frankly, we should all be asking, the banks all these questions as well, because, like your shirt says, the banks are not our friends.
At
You
least not
know,
my friend. They haven't been a friend of mine my whole life. Some people might consider the banks a friend, but those people ain't no friends of mine.
that's right.
Hey, thanks everybody for showing up to the chat, the live chat. How goes it, everybody? Yep. So this is Alex Mashinsky, the founder and CEO, co-founder and CEO of Celsius Network. Alex, if you could do me a favor, maybe just an elevator pitch about yourself. Maybe how did you get into Bitcoin? Did you get in through like gambling on the dark web, or did you get into Bitcoin through Silk Road, or how'd you get into this from VoIP into MOIP?
Right. So yeah, it's we coined the term MOIP, money over internet protocol, and really because I think uh, it's the same journey, right? So after going through this concept of fighting with the phone companies who used to charge us $3 a minute, there were monopolies that kind of dominated our lives, right? And now we're using that service for free. And MOIP represents the same thing, right? Today, the banks are the most profitable companies out there. Like JP Morgan made 30 billion in profit last year, and that's $5 for every person on the planet. That's how much profit they make. So
That's disgusting.
they're monopolies, and they extract as much out of us as possible, and that's why we don't earn anything on our money. It's because they make so much money, right? So for me, VoIP and MOIP are kind of the same journeys. It's about just fighting the big guys, bringing power back to the people, and just like we basically completely dismantled the phone companies, right? The old phone companies, we're gonna do the same thing to banks. I see no other alternative. So my journey, I'm an immigrant. I grew up. I was born in the Ukraine. I grew up in Israel, and went to the military there. I was actually,
What? You were in a military?
yeah, I did 3 years of military.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
What was that
don't
like?
fight with me. You're not gonna win.
What was it like to go from like a military background to almost like cypherpunk? It's that's totally night and day.
In my teens, I was a blackhead. I actually almost got arrested a few times. I hacked into the
Whoa.
phone company in Israel. I used to go to junkyards and
So
steal
was
phone.
it like go to the military or go to jail? Was that like kind of what it was?
No, in Israel it's mandatory. So I actually went to the. I was in the pilot program for a while, and then
Oh shit.
was in counterintelligence. I think the military helped turn me from a bad guy to a good guy,
So
right?
you
Kind
went
of.
from black hat to white hat,
I
basically.
went to white hat. Yes, they definitely turned me into a white hat, and Like I was in counterintelligence, so my job was to break into other people's systems, but I did it on behalf of the government,
So are
not
you a
because.
spy? Can you tell us if you're like a spy? Is that what's going on?
Even if I was a spy, I couldn't tell you, right? But you know, I was. It really put me on the right track, and I came to the States after that in 1988. Did 7 startups here as a founder. So
Damn.
Celsius is my 8th startup, right? So, and for the first 7 startup, I raised over $1 billion from venture capitalists. And
Shit. So you're like Batman rich.
yeah, right.
You working on the bat suit?
It's funny, but there is a picture of me with a Batman hat circulating on the
I've
internet.
never seen Alex Mashinsky and Batman in the same room. I think that's an indicator.
Yeah, well, for now I'm just sticking with animals and bats. You know, so we got all of our,
What
got our.
inspired the mascots for Celsius Network? Where did they come from? Did you have like imaginary friends that you would loan money to growing up and they would pay you interest?
Well, we wanted to be different. I think we wanted to be kind of connect with the younger generation and show them that we really mean it when we say that we want to do something that's in their best interest, because people your age and younger don't believe anybody, right?
No.
They look at old guys like me and say, who the heck are you? You don't represent anything I stand for. But I still have the black hat in me. I'm probably 70% white hat and 30% black hat, right? So when I saw Silk Road, when I saw a lot of the kind of like bad implementations of usage of Bitcoin, it was very easy for me to see how it could be used for the good and not necessarily for the bad. And in the beginning, actually, when I was one of my a guy that worked for me sent me the white paper. I think it was 2009 or 2010, and my first reaction was like, "Oh, this is horrible."
It's
It
only
needs.
8 pages long. This can't be revolutionary.
Yes, that's right. But it was it basically, the main issue there was scalability. I could not see how this thing would scale because it required so much electricity, so much communication, and I'm an efficiency guy, right? I know how to cut the lines in the code by half, right? By just being efficient, by how to use memory, how to use CPU speed and all that stuff to solve problems. So for me, this complete waste of running the same thing 10,000 times on 10,000 networks, 10,000 nodes, and wasting communication on that's a scarce resource,
Yep.
network communication. So I come from the old school where we never had enough memory or enough speed or enough communication bandwidth. So I conserve all of that, and here comes a network that just wastes all of that in a completely like an obscene way, just
Right.
like nothing I've seen before, right? It
It's
was
like throwing money out of a damn open window into a tornado. It is
like
bad.
it makes watching HDTV or 4K TV like nothing. It consumes 100 times more than that, right? So I just thought that it's not going to scale. That was my main issue, right?
Right.
But then looking at one or two things that the decentralized blockchain gives us, especially on the global scale, right? Basically enabling humanity to create a platform that acts in its own best interest and replaces the toll collectors, the banks, the financial institutions, with something that acts in our best interest. The minute that light bulb went on, I couldn't do anything else. I mean,
Right.
like last night, you heard Daniel say that, he was like nagging me about doing something here, and so when I got to, and I kept listening to him, and I kept thinking to myself, I can't find the killer app. I can't find the killer app, and we invested, Daniel and I invested in a bunch of companies in the space. But, until we hit on that point that we can actually create an organization that acts in the best interest of the entire planet,
Is
right?
is it possible for a centralized company or an entity with a CEO to lead that way as a decentralized platform meaner, or do we need something truly decentralized as far as like a Bitcoin white paper to Bitcoin as a currency to a white paper for a a decentralized loaning system like Celsius. Is it possible for Celsius as a centralized company to disrupt like that?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and my view is that, look, we've for 10 years we've tried it without somebody leading the way, and frankly, we have not landed on a killer app, right? I
Right.
mean, some people say store of value in Bitcoin is killer app. I'm sorry, 25 million people after 10 years, that for me that's a failure. Okay, like
Right.
this is the biggest thing in the last 700 years since banking was invented.
Yeah,
Okay,
Flappy Bird has more active users than Bitcoin right
exactly.
now.
It's just crazy. So my answer to you is that my job, the way I see it, is to try to lead through a centralized solution to a decentralized solution. Meaning, I think I'm a big believer in decentralization. I've done 100 lectures in which I'm saying, hey, decentralization is a tsunami that's washing the entire planet. If you're going to stand in its way, all it's going to do is going to wash you away. It could care less what you are. It's just a 1,000 foot high, wall of water that's just going to come and wipe you away. It doesn't matter what you try to do. You can build a wall against it. That's not going to do anything.
Right.
So decentralization is going to disrupt all of that, especially banking, because banks charge so much, right? They keep 90% of the value of what they create and only give the depositor 10% or like one.
If they even give that, I mean, most of the time I talk to my friends who have bank accounts, they end up paying a bank for the bank to take their money to then make money off their money. So they're loaning out my friends money while charging my friends for that service to do so. So some people actually lose money by having a bank account.
Most of the world is either zero rates, interest rate, or negative rates. Like Germany, Japan, and many other countries have negative rates. Like you said, you have to pay the bank to store your money. Meanwhile, they're making money on your money, right? Most people don't know how to make money on their money, right? And that's why we made it so simple, right? But back to the decentralization issue, we have to make it all the way there, right? So we have to create a system that everybody trusts, create that trust. People have to see someone. They can't see Satoshi. They can't see who is behind the blockchain, the Bitcoin. And it's very hard for them to transition from this beautiful giant building downtown that says Wells Fargo or JP Morgan, right? Because they can see that and say, okay, my money is safe in this.
Yeah, people love scapegoats when it comes to their finance. Nobody wants to look in the mirror and blame themselves when they lose a private key. But if you have an accountant or a broker that you can yell at when they fuck up, man, people love it. They're like, oh, I'm insured. Don't worry about it. I know the bank lost my money, but it's insured. But it's your money that's insuring it. You're paying yourself back.
When you see that giant building, you're paying for it. You're paying for these colossal companies that make tens of billions of dollars a year in profit. All that's coming out of your pocket. So we don't want to have any fancy buildings. We just want to create really, really easy to use apps that replace the functionality, just like WhatsApp replaced AT&T
Yep.
or Verizon or whatever as a VoIP solution and has 2 billion users. The same way, like Celsius is with MOIP is trying to basically replace the need for a bank. We pay 7.1% per year on stablecoins, so that's more than 7 times more than the banks pay. And all you have to do is take your money out of a bank, go to Circle or go to Pax or go to Gemini, buy a stablecoin, deposit it in our wallet, and you're earning 7 times more than your money earns. And we don't charge any fees, right? So it's just, we'll never charge you a fee. That's the whole purpose of Celsius, right? So I think, we have 65, close to 70,000 downloads now, and people are getting it. They're starting to understand. So
When you say that you have 70,000 downloads, that's pretty quick. I mean, the applications and the enrollment's only a couple months old at this point.
Yeah. It's just in a few months, yes.
Wow.
So we launched the product the second half of last year. So it's, look, again, our mission is to bring 100 million people into crypto. So 70,000 is we're still tweaking with the product, fixing things. But our next release on, I think it's April 15th, is really the big release. I mean, that's really adding tremendous amount of functionality. We're also going to be listing on an exchange, listing the Cell token on an exchange in May. So
Nice.
you put those two together, and suddenly that's really the spark that's going to bring hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people.
So this is just the introduction to Celsius Network right now, like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
You haven't seen anything yet. This is
Wow.
just like our little experiment of launching a basic product. So, I mean, what we want to have, if you think of Costco, right? When you get that Costco membership and you walk into the warehouse and everything is priced so low that you don't have to check Amazon, you don't have to check your
Right.
supermarket. You know that everything there is the best quality at the lowest price. It's the same concept about Celsius Network, right? The idea is that when you become a member of the Celsius Network, every financial product inside this supermarket called Celsius Network is always at the best value for you and with no fees, right? So our job is really to curate not just digital assets and coins and tokens, but also add other services. We plan to add insurance. We plan to add all kinds of other things that are going to act in your best interest, right? And if we have a big enough community, those things will be the cheapest and best services out there because we'll have that massive buying power, just like Costco can get the best juice and the best toilet paper at prices you can't get anywhere else.
I do buy my toilet paper by the month bulk. I just hate not having it in the pinch of an emergency, so it makes sense to buy in bulk for the month. So, yeah.
It's funny because my teenage kids are still asleep, right? It's 12:30 right now. It's almost 1 p.m. They're still asleep, but one of them did wake up, ran over, stole the toilet paper from my toilet. They can have it in their room, and that's it. That's the only thing they needed from me was just my
You
toilet
know,
paper.
I came up with the idea for the Dollar Shave Club for men. I was that guy who was like, you know what? I want a Netflix subscription to toilet paper. I just, every week it shows up at my door because I can't live without it. I need it every week. And then Dollar Shave Club for Men fucking comes out and totally
Killed it.
stole my idea.
That's what
I
happened.
I do want to touch on the elephant in the room, and I know you're sick and tired of the whole fucking comparison, but it does necessarily ease people's mind when we bring it up is the difference between Celsius Network and BitConnect. A lot of people are still skeptical of anything to do with lending cryptocurrencies because of the stigma that BitConnect has left behind. And it's not the same legacy stigma that people have with banking. Like Wells Fargo gets caught opening multiple accounts in your name and charging you fees. People are okay with that the next day, just completely okay with it. But then you mention this company scammed people and they're freaking out all over the place, and it's not every company that does this. So like, what is the difference between other platforms that used to do a lot of the lending, and why did they fail, and how will Celsius succeed?
Right. No, it's a great question. And there were at least 10 companies that tried to do variances. I'm not talking about BitConnect. That was just a scam, right? That was a Ponzi scheme. But there were other companies that basically said, we're going to lend coins or do lending peer-to-peer. And they were all peer-to-peer companies. And the problem with peer-to-peer is that you have to match two people together. And then if one of them doesn't perform, the other person is left holding the bag, and the network disintegrates very, very quickly, right? So even Lending Club and all these companies that are not using crypto, they're all effectively migrated from this peer-to-peer concept into a process where they have hedge funds and people like lending money on one side and people borrowing money on the other side. So Celsius is very different in that concept. We have basically pools of capital. So when you download our app and you open it and it says, here's the BTC address, that is a BitGo address that takes your BTC and puts it into a pool of BTC together with all of our other depositors. So now BitGo sits on a few thousand ETH, a few thousand Bitcoin, like 100,000 ETH, right? And from there, from that pool, we, the administrator of that account, effectively issue loans or issue dollar loans to participants who we know that are creditworthy and that will return that capital, right? So we act as administrator. We basically make sure that we only transact with we don't transact with any retail users. Like we don't have a single individual that comes to us and says, I want to borrow coins, right? We only work with institutions.
Oh wow.
And
So the institutions are the ones borrowing the coins and the retail individuals are the ones lending them their coins.
exactly.
Now,
So
is it my Bitcoin that's being lent out or is it Celsius's money? Because if I still have my private keys and I sweep my keys off of the BitGo wallet and I move my Bitcoin out, does it affect Celsius as much or not so much?
So as we mentioned last night, we had more deposits and withdrawals in almost every day since we launched, right? So out of 240 something days, 93% of the days, almost every day, we have more deposits and withdrawals. So we're net positive. So we don't, like, if you withdraw all your coins, because we don't have any lockup, right? I mean,
Right. There's no lockup. That's the amazing part.
deposit in the morning and withdraw by lunchtime and nothing happens, right? There's no fees, there's no termination fees, unlike other people that are charging you fees when you withdraw, whatever. Anyone who puts these tolls is never acting in your best interest. Then they just become more and more like a bank. That's what banks do, right? They make you lock up your money for 2 years. They ask you for fees. They ask you for money, for checking account fees and the transaction fee and late fee and this, that, and so on and so on. We don't charge any fees whatsoever. Our job is to create income on your money, just like the banks do. And our job is to distribute up to 80% of that back to you, right? So instead of you getting 1% per year, you can earn 7.5. You have Dash on your arm. We just added Dash, 7.5% right now.
What?
No questions asked, right? You don't have to stake. You don't have to understand what proof of stake is. You just deposit it in Celsius, and we do the staking for you. Plus, we do the lending, and the two together yield 7.5%, which is more than just the staking fees that you can earn with Dash if you did all of this yourself.
Wow,
At the
that's
same
pretty powerful.
right, because most people that hold Dash hold it on exchanges and
Yep.
they don't make any money out of it, and the exchanges make money from
Well,
it.
that's like you mentioned earlier. JP Morgan made what, $65 billion off of our money and gave us nothing. And Binance has publicly made a shit ton of money off of everybody's Bitcoin. And I don't remember getting any interest from them holding my Bitcoin and making money off of it.
Made close to $1 billion, you know. So people love Binance, and when I say to them, all this profit came from your pocket.
Yep.
Do you understand that? No, they're a very profitable company. Yeah, JP Morgan is also a very profitable company. All that money came from your pocket. People don't get that. They don't understand, because most of us don't know how to make money on our money, right?
Well, there was a lot of roadblocks in the legacy system to be able to make money out of money. It wasn't as convenient as it is with decentralized currencies that don't have as many borders to entry. If I wanted to buy some stocks and rent my stocks out to somebody that trades, I can't do that without a broker or an accredited investor on my behalf. Now I can go buy some ICO tokens. I can lend them tokens out on Celsius or Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, and I can make money out of money now because there's a lot less barrier to entry.
Exactly, and all we're doing, okay, I want to make it clear. It's not like Alex is a genius who figured out something that no one has done before. Not at all. All I've done is I've taken all the tricks that the hedge funds and the banks and the institutions use every day to make tons of money. All these rich guys who are in the Hamptons with their private jets and everything, I know how they make money, you know, because I'm one of them, right? I know I have a house in East Hampton, you know, like I'm just taking all those tricks and I'm giving it to our entire community. I'm giving it to the Celsius community, to the crypto community. Anyone who joins gets to benefit from all of them without getting a PhD in economics and figuring out how the front curve looks like and why it's inverted and how do you take advantage of it.
Well, maybe you can explain to people how they can take advantage of Celsius, because I have questions in the live chat right now, and one of the concerns is, do I need to go through a credit score approval to use Celsius to lend? I know I had to submit my KYC, but what's the process like for somebody to just use Celsius as a service? What's that process like?
we 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 want everyone to use it, right? So the only people we don't want to use it are people that can hurt our community, right? So the only border that we put in where we check, okay, who are you, why are you joining us, is to make sure that you are not a criminal, you're not someone that's politically connected in a way that can, again, so the money in our pool will be tainted. Like if
Right.
you are if you're a brother of the North Korean leader and you're putting $1 million into our pool of BTC, now the government can come and basically cause us trouble because we enabled somebody that's not supposed to be part of our network to participate in our network. So we do very detailed KYC and AML, right? Anti-money laundering, that is compliant with all the regulatory requirements in the United States. And then we deposit all those coins with BitGo, which has all of their custody in the US. So you're
And they're
protecting,
insured.
and they're insured, right? They have Lloyd's insurance. And so that is the best quality. That's by far, for most people, better than keeping the coins in cold storage or keeping them on any exchange. Okay, BitGo does a better job than, I would say, any exchange out there in custody. So you just have to decide. Let's say we're not earning any interest. Let's say you just want to decide, do I keep the keys myself,
Right.
or do I put them on deposit with somebody else? I think Celsius will do a better job for you because we basically solve this issue of losing your keys. And part of it is like my son, my 17-year-old son, you know, who I've been sending coins to his wallet for the last 3 years,
Oh,
decided
man.
to delete his wallet, and he forgot to write the private key, and he comes to me and says, but where do I reset the password? And I'm like, there is no reset button. You know, this is not like YouTube or whatever where you click on the button and you enter a new password, you know. So all I'm saying is that we already, I think, found all the people, all the hackers and all the anarchists who can manage their own keys. You want to bring the next million people or 100 million people or a billion people into this community, they're not going to know how to manage their keys. I'm sorry. And if we're going to force them to do that, it's all going to be all of us talking to each other, sending coins to each other.
It's going to go back to like the pirate era, you know? People are going to be burying hardware wallets in their backyard, taking 10 paces from the coconut tree or something. I mean, that's what happens when you're your own bank and you're dealing with tens of thousands or hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes. It can be a nerve-wracking experience that actually makes you not even want to contribute or be a part of it, right? Like, if I'm a hedge fund manager, I can't be responsible for $10 million on my own. I need a custodial service that's insured.
Yes. So all we're doing is we're basically enabling the onboarding of the next billion people who probably, most of them, are not going to want to hold their own keys. So if you use our wallet, you'll see very quickly, if you use SellPay or if you use all the services we have there, you'll see very quickly that we don't have addresses. We don't have all the stuff that you normally, yes, you need an address to come in. Right. But after that, everything is done without anything, and you can reset your password. You can get out of trouble if you lost your phone or if you know. So I think we solved a lot of that. There's still a lot of work to be done, but my mission is to bring those hundreds of millions of people, just like we did with VoIP, right? I carried the flag for VoIP for 15 years.
And I thank you for that, because VoIP changed my life just as much as Bitcoin has. Honestly, one of the first articles I ever wrote was about voice over IP. That's because when I was young, I grew up in poverty. I didn't have money for a phone bill. And somebody showed me how to connect my smartphone to a Wi-Fi hotspot at McDonald's. And I was like, wait, why do people pay for this? It's fucking free. Wi-Fi's everywhere. Who's not using VoIP? But there are people who will choose to have a custodial service for their phone line because it is a little cumbersome still to this day to be your own phone network provider, you know, using VoIP. It can be a little spotty sometimes with the hotspots and stuff like that. So there are going to be custodial services for every industry ever. No, it's nothing will be truly decentralized because we'll have optional centralization. But at least we have the option to either go out of centralization or opt into it for as a form of security, so I don't have to bury my hardware wallet in the backyard.
Right. And it's a great point because, like I said before, I want to lead us into decentralization. And one of the most important steps in that transition is full transparency, right? Is basically saying, okay, using the blockchain, Celsius is going to use the blockchain to record all of the transactions. So anyone can come and audit us at any time and say, how much do you have on deposit? How much did you lend out? How much interest did you get? Did you really give all that interest back to the community? Did you distribute it properly, or are you stealing some to yourself? And really be able, no one, try to go to your bank and say, hey, I just gave you guys $1,000. I want to know where that money went to. Who did you give it to? How much you keeping to yourself? How much money did you make on my money? How much of it did you give yourself? Right? And so on, so on. They'll never answer
questions in, they're probably calling the cops on me.
Exactly.
He's interrogating me. Get him out of here.
Exactly. So the whole purpose of the Celsius blockchain, because people say to us, are you a blockchain company? Yes, the whole purpose of it is transparency and the fact that anyone, you don't have to be a Celsius user to come and look at it, dig in and say, hey, they're not doing what they promised, right? So for us, that is like the major step that's going to be available in Q3 of this year. And basically, I think that was what's going to allow a lot of people who are skeptical or think that, okay, well, you look like BitConnect, again, BitConnect, I don't think I've watched some of their videos. I don't think they've ever explained how they make money.
They said they had a bot, and that was like the end of the sentence. We have a bot. That's it. We're not going to show you it. We're not going to prove it. We're not going to show you the trades. We're just, yeah, it was a rumor.
Somebody promises you 10% a month,
Oh, it was 40% a month, Alex. 40%. And you know, CoinMarketCap had the audacity to have an ad that said risk-free 40% a month.
Crazy, right? So
blows my mind. And then you say 7% a year, and people are like, "Oh, it's not enough. I want that 40% a month, man. 7% a year. That ain't enough."
Right. So we are not risk-free. We obviously have to work for this. We have counterparty risk, but again, look at my track record, and that's really what you're investing in, right? I mean, when somebody puts their coins with us, they're basically saying, hey, guard these for me, make sure that you don't lose them, and then if you can generate income, great. But if you can't, I want to make sure you give me my coins back. Right. So our number one priority is to always return the coins to the depositors. And number two priority is to generate as much return as possible. And again, when we make return, we take it away from exchanges, we take it away from hedge funds, we take it away from other people who are already making money on your money, they're just not giving it to you, right? And when somebody gives us a stable coin, we're taking that profit away from the banks. It's profit that the banks make with your dollars that we're transitioning into us making it for you with stable coins.
Making it impossible for them to fractionally lend or fractionally reserve our fiat dollars by taking it right out of the economy and the ecosystem and putting it in stable coins. And I think this is what's really going to incentivize people that could give a shit less about Bitcoin. There's a lot of people that are privileged where they don't need Bitcoin, right? It's like, that's a lifeboat and my ship's working really good right now. I don't need to do this. But if I show people that, that $30,000 you have sitting in your checking account for your savings account, it's making you, all right, maybe you're getting more than 0.1% interest because you locked $50,000 up for years. I could show you how to get 7% a year and you don't have to obligate to anything. And that's a new conversation rather than you want to learn about Bitcoin day trading. Do you want to learn about staking coins and running a masternode? When I can simply say, take your fiat dollars, buy stable coins, have that same amount of USD in value, but store it in Celsius network and make 700% more a year because your bank's going to screw you.
Right. So well, 7%, not 700.
Well, I meant compared to how much the bank charges you. Like, I'm in debt every time I look at a bank account. I've never made money having a bank account. It costs me exponentially more than will ever make.
Right. So the last 11 years since 2008 were also pretty easy to make money. You could have put money in the S&P index or buy Apple stock or whatever, and you did pretty well. But I think we've reached this, like we everything, every asset class, real estate and bonds and stocks and everything is at all-time highs,
So
right?
we're in an
So
investment bubble all around.
are. The bubble is not in the Bitcoin. The bubble is in the dollar denominated assets.
Yep.
You know, that if you're putting right now dollars to work in real estate or in bonds or in stocks, you're putting it at, you know, that's like picking up a penny in front of a steamroller, you know, like it's just, you're going to get crushed because you just don't understand the risk that you're taking. You know, like people tell me, oh, you know, banks are much safer than Celsius. I'm like, wait a second. So Deutsche Bank is leveraged 50 to 1. It's in their statement. You can look it up online. It says that on their website. They leverage 50 to 1. They lend $50 for every dollar they have in their on their balance sheet. Celsius has negative leverage. We always lend less than the deposits we have. So who is safer? Somebody who's leveraged 50 to 1 or somebody who has negative leverage? And like, no, you can't compare yourself to bank. I'm like, I'm not comparing myself to banks, right?
Right, you
So
can't. I mean, you can't just
get
print
better.
Bitcoin. They can print dollars whenever they want. You know, that's where the real problem comes in.
That's the problem, that they take excessive risks, and
Yep.
every 10 or 15 years they blow up. And the fact that we used the bazooka in 2008 and in 2001 and in 1999 and so on, and everything worked just fine, doesn't mean it's going to work the next time. So the Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies are the only non-correlated assets that exist today on the planet. Everything else is dollar correlated and dollar denominated. So if you and I'm not telling people, look, take all your money and put it in Bitcoin. All I'm saying is that 5 or 10% of your assets should be in a non-correlated environment, because if something blows up on the other side, if everything is great, fine. Both these will do probably fine. But if the dollar world blows up, everybody's going to try to make their way through that really narrow door and buy some Bitcoin, and that's when it goes to a million,
I
right?
think the stepping stone stable coins. I think that's the first step where everybody's going to feel very comfortable. It's very familiar. They have something that they can relate it to, but it's a stable coin backed by gold, or it's a stable coin, you know, pegged to the US dollar or whatever. But now that I don't have to worry about holding Bitcoin and have it be volatile. I can hold a stable coin, put it in Celsius network, and still make, you know, about 7% a year, as opposed to holding fiat dollars in a bank account. And that's again, it's that stepping stone to kind of getting inside and looking at the permissionlessness, the decentralization, the immutability, the open ledger. It's still familiar, but all these bells and whistles that people never really realized that they needed or wanted before.
Yeah, and it's also the killer app for Ethereum right now. So Ethereum, think about Ethereum. Ethereum was created, and then this ICO wave created all these use cases for Ethereum, right? And then it blew up, right? And now the second stepping stone for Ethereum is stablecoin. Most stablecoins are running on the ERC20 on the Ethereum network. They're ERC basically denominated. And because of that, they're very easily fungibly transacted between players in the space. So, and you know, I see the stability in the Ethereum price because of that, because of stable coins, right? But look, most people on the planet have no clue what we're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
99 out of 100 people, you ask them about Bitcoin, they'll tell you, oh, I heard something, I don't know what it is, and I'm afraid of it. I'm not going to touch it,
Right.
right?
It's still
Ethereum,
drug money in the mainstream. Every random bartender or stripper or Uber driver I ask if they heard about Bitcoin, they go right to Silk Road, and you kind of have to backtrack from that perspective that the mainstream is kind of colored in for them. But we're getting farther away from that stigma as time rolls on, and we see, you know, the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, CNBC, you know, investor talking about, you know, hedging the Bitcoin, and unfortunately they're talking about Ripple and shit like that, but they are starting to get into the conversations.
in the 90s, voice over IP, which is now like this hot thing, was
Is it?
an illegal service. It started as like illegal voice service. Then it turned into gray market. It used to be called gray market because it wasn't like 100% legal. and now it's the main thing. Everybody's using VoIP. No one is using a TDM network, right? So we're kind of going through the same transition here. Again, I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends.
Right. What
That's
about the bad actors? You know, all the prank phone calls I get from people using voice over IP. I can't track them down. They're anonymous. They're using decentralized technology for evil. We should kill voice over IP because I get prank phone calls every day.
all day long. Yes. So I think, look, we're gonna we have to transition the crypto community through these gates and into salvation, right? We were still stuck in purgatory right now
Right.
because, like you said, we have to. We started with the anarchist and all the bad use cases and all that stuff, and look, the anarchists were here to. They wanted to make it into a different world. They just didn't do it in a way that many of us agree with, right? So they took the baton from Satoshi, right? They tried to make it, and they put together less than 1 million people, right? In the first 3 or 4 years of Bitcoin, there were less than 1 million users. Then they had to pass the baton to the libertarians, right? The libertarians grabbed this baton. They're going to save the world with the same baton, and they can only bring 3 or 4 million users, right? Now in 2015, they pass the baton to the speculators. The speculator looks at the anarchist and the libertarian and says, you guys are crazy. It's not about blowing up the world or saving the world. It's about making money. And the speculators were planning to pass the baton to the institutions. And the institutions just said, no, I'm dropping the baton. It's too hot, man. Because scalability, security, and regulatory concerns, right? So that handoff in 2018, that's why prices are down 80 or 90%. The handoff between the speculator and the institution did not take place. And right now we're seeing that. We're seeing in 19 much faster adoption. We work with several hundred institutions. I can tell you they're buying coins every day. They're much more active. Fidelity backed, all these other things that are coming live this year are going to be a huge improvement and addition to the network. And you need these players. You need these players because the mom and pop guy is going to trust Fidelity, but he may not trust you or me to put in his precious dollars into Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything else. So it's coming. It's going to take us to new highs, but we have to be patient. And every one of us has to bring 10, 20 people into crypto, convince our friends. Otherwise, again, we'll be stuck here just sending coins to each other and talking about the good old days.
Yeah, it'll segue back to like that Pokemon nostalgia where you're just like, hey, remember that Bitcoin thing? Yeah, I think I still have some of those. I think I have a shirt with it on it still. You know, like it is. It's really up to us now to kind of lead the way by taking that responsibility, grabbing the nearest friend and bringing them onto this, lifeboat with us, because the ship has a hole in it and it's the size of $22 trillion. The ship is going down. It's just going down so slowly that nobody's really noticing the inevitable decline. But us that are already in this Bitcoin lifeboat, it's up to us to bring people on before it's too late.
Exactly. And if we can just take the profits of JP Morgan and put it into the crypto community by
$5 for every person, you said?
Exactly.
That could change a lot of people's lives.
So the revenues of JP Morgan are more than the entire market cap of a crypto community.
Shit. That's perspective.
The community is smaller than just one bank. You understand how bad this is? So we could generate that profit for ourselves. That's the whole point, right? We're saying instead of the bank keeping 90% of the profit on your money, how about we distribute 80% to the participants in the community?
So what are the pain points that are holding back the mainstream right now? Like what are some of the borders to entry, or like I said, the pain points for people that want to on-ramp into cryptocurrencies today, and how do we overcome that to make it mainstream accessible?
Right. So I think, again, you need use cases, and part of what we are working on every day is enabling more financial institution, enabling more participants to transact with each other through these stable coins, through cryptocurrencies, through NFTs. And it's just adding all of that functionality into something. If you haven't used SellPay, try it. I don't know if you haven't tried it, but you don't need to know anybody's wallet address. You can just SMS or text them or send them an email or use a messenger, right? You can use WhatsApp or Telegram or anything.
Is this through KYC?
What?
Is Celsius Pay through KYC?
No, it's our own service. We provide the service. You have to do KYC to come in, right,
Right.
into the platform, but we don't do credit checks. We don't do employment verification. We don't need any of that stuff, right? You asked me before. All I need to know is that you're a good actor, and after I know you're a good actor, you can now transact with anyone on the planet. You can receive or send money to anyone. In this case, it's cryptocurrencies to anyone on the planet, even if they're not, right? It's not just people inside the Celsius network. You can send, if you use a Celsius wallet, you can send money to your grandma, even though she has never done anything with crypto.
I can do that through SMS.
Just through SMS, yes, that's the whole beauty of it. So when I say let's bring the next 100 million people, that's the kind of bridge you need. You need to completely eliminate the need call grandma and say, hey, grandma, download a new wallet and send me your Bitcoin address. Yeah, right, that's going to happen.
How do you download a wallet? I just bought the purse on Amazon.
Exactly. That wallet is too expensive. So it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So if you look at how we're trying to attack it, it's the same. Look, it was the same story with voice over IP, right? You had to enter a TCP/IP address in your header, right? You had to basically know your destination. You had to call your buddy and say, what's your IP address? And you would type it in there, create a socket, and then start a session. And sometimes you had too many hops and you had to do it again. I mean, that was voice over IP before we created WhatsApp and all these other services.
I'm
Skype
so happy I didn't have to go through all that. I feel like VoIP was just like coming into like the Skype mainstream when I got into it, because my experience with voice over IP was as seamless as using a company's phone line. You know, just username, password, done. I got a phone number now, except I don't have to pay a monthly bill for it.
We are where VoIP was in 94, 95.
Yep.
Right now, you have to enter
What are your thoughts on exponential growth and exponential curve of adoption? You think that we'll be able to see this hit mainstream adoption exponentially quicker than it took things like voice over IP to do the same?
Well, each technology runs faster and faster and faster because the infrastructure is already there.
Right, but the adoption of it, right? That's what I'm worried about. You could make driverless cars, but will people adopt it?
Right. So here, having people trust you with their money is definitely a high barrier, right? So that's going to be the thing that kind of holds you back, because you really need to convince people that these monolithic banks that they give all their money to are not as safe or acting in their best interest, and convince them that they can come to you and trust and put their assets, or at least some of their assets, in this organization that acts in their best interest. So we either deliver that or we don't, right? I mean, right now we are preaching to the converted. Most of our users are people who are already in the crypto community. But now that we build all these bridges on, and that's what I'm saying, like your viewers, our community, every one of us has to go. I walk on the streets and induct people into the
Your
Bitcoin.
Your community is probably going to be the biggest ones on ramping, because every Monday, clockwork, they earn their interest and they're bragging about it to all their friends who have Wells Fargo and JP Morgan accounts, and they're looking at, how do I fucking owe Wells Fargo money? And you're making money. Like it's going to almost, I feel like peer pressure, right? Like the fidget spinner of money will be Bitcoin, because all your friends are going to be holding this Bitcoin thing, and you may not know about it or care about it, but you're going to understand how your friends are playing with it and making money by doing it. And that's the on-ramp, right? Like a lot of people could care less about being permissionless or being decentralized. But when you show them how to make money, light bulbs.
Exactly. But you can deliver both, and it's big enough where all the money in the world could be in this network, right? Because some people come to me and say, Alex, you cannot take all the money that exists in the real world and put it on the Bitcoin or the Ethereum network or whatever. And I'm like, yes, you can. That's the whole point. The question is just who is going to get the benefit of all of that value. is it going to be the few bankers, or is it going to be all of us by distributing it based on who contributed all the coins in the first place? So I think, you know, the early adopters are here already, right? I mean, people like you, you know, a lot of young people that I'm actually shocked at how quick they were at understanding that the old system is not
Well, we
acting in
weren't
their best.
programmed. That's the best part, right? The younger we are, the less conditioning and programming we have with the legacy system. Like people that are under 18 years old in the United States, they have no attachment to a bank because the bank said you're not allowed to fuck with us until you're 18. You can give a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old a Bitcoin account, and they're already going to be familiar with this use of currency as they move, you know, into their adulthood. So kids in this day and age have no incentive to learn about money because they're actually not allowed to. You don't have the permission to use a bank. You don't have the permission to be an investor. 5 years old, here's some Bitcoin. Go on Poloniex and buy some shit coins. 5 years old, you can be a stock trader on this cryptocurrency thing. And
Right.
the opportunity actually incentivizes the education. So by the time kids are going to be 17, they're not even going to look at a bank as an option because for 17 years, it was not an option.
Right, and they use tokens in their games, and they're kind of used to this virtualized world. Also, look, I know a lot of Celsius users that are, you know, college grads who got a credit card during college. The bank told them it's free, and then they missed one payment, and they started charging them fees and ruined their credit, and they just basically got fed up, right? Between the student loans and the bank's credit card, they're like, give me a better system, you know. So anyway, look, we're getting there. Is it moving quickly? Definitely not as quick as VoIP. I can tell you, in '95, you know, the internet was 10 years old, and it had over 500 million users, right? So here we are. We're 10 years old, and we have maybe 25 million active users. That's just not enough, right? So the technology, you want decentralization, you want the blockchain to take over the world, you need hundreds of millions of users. And that's really the gap, the crossing the chasm that has not happened, right? We had this Cambrian explosion of innovation, all these ICOs, all this activity, all these different blockchains, but we cannot cross the chasm to mass adoption.
Well, that chasm's a lot bigger, right? Because this technology is more disruptive than voice over IP. Voice over IP was really disruptive, but what it disrupted, they actually just adopted it, made it their own, and packaged it to people. You know, like Verizon, AT&T, they all use VoIP technology and just sell it as a service when it is damn well free if you just had internet.
That's right. Yes. All the backbones of VoIP today, you don't know it because when you use your phone, you don't understand that you're using VoIP.
Every bank I see doing the same thing with cryptocurrencies. Every bank will, like JP Morgan and their stable coin, every bank will be doing the same thing. Like every phone company incorporated VoIP and just packaged it individually as their own thing. That kind of segues in.
Yeah, most people don't know that the JP Morgan copied Ethereum, called it Quorum.
Yes.
And launched their own coin, right? I mean, it's a copy of Ethereum. How much worse can it get? You know, these guys stole our Mona Lisa, called it something else, and said we created it. You know,
yeah, but they gave Mona Lisa a big Pinocchio nose because they have whitelisted addresses, they have the ability to freeze, and they can do transaction recall. So, like, if you accidentally sent me money on their, you can withdraw it and get it like as a chargeback. It's like they're literally building fiat on blockchain to make it worse, but bells and whistles.
It's a private blockchain and it's not immutable. I mean, that's the opposite of what the Bitcoin is.
And that's not going to be successful for them. But I do see, which is like segueing towards one of my last questions here is, do you see any opportunities for an investment in Lightning Network to be beneficial for retail or individual investors? Is there any way that we could see, you know, something like Celsius Network or any way to monetize the Lightning Networks for retail investors to, you know, benefit from creating their own channels and running their own nodes?
So yeah, so I think there's several technologies that are being kind of tested right now. Lightning Network is one of them, right? I mean, you have Plasma and other solutions coming out of different, like from the Ethereum network, and obviously the Bitcoin Foundation is working on a bunch of things.
And Mimblewimble. Mimble
Yes.
Wimble. It's like the Harry Potter update.
Yes, exactly. So Celsius is not picking losers or winners. It doesn't decide, oh, we're going to support Bitcoin, but we're not going to support Ethereum. Our job is really to enable the community to transact on all these platforms, on all these rails, and the one that the community decides to adopt, which in many cases is not the best technology. You know, you
That's
look the
true.
last 20 years, it's not always the best technology that wins, but our job is just basically to bring again the masses into that winning platform and make sure that we are acting in the best interest of our depositors. That's really my main focus. Is like everything I ask myself every day is to make sure, am I doing everything for the depositor? Am I protecting them? Because it's building trust takes a very, very long time, right? Again, the banks have been around for 700 years.
Yeah,
We
they've been
just show
screwing us forever. We trust that they will fuck us. There's no doubt in our mind.
So the question is, how do we take that trust away from the banks and convince people to trust us? And until now, again, the crypto community, again, I'm a big supporter of the crypto community, but we have not done a great job convincing people that don't understand technology why they can trust us. And that's really the chasm that you're talking about before. It is a big chasm. It is a mega step that we need to cross, and it's definitely a much, much bigger step than voice over IP, because there the step you wouldn't lose anything if you tried the VoIP network and it didn't work. You could still pick up your phone and dial something else, and you were fine. Here, you're putting your money, you're losing your money. The risk is very high, and the fact that we have a lot of scammers in this business who are taking advantage of the fact that this is a young industry and people make mistakes, and you send coins to the guy who pretended to be somebody else. I mean, it's just painful stories that I hear every day of how people got scammed.
Oh
And
man, I've
and
been scammed in so simple of a way. I used to back in 2016, I downloaded a wallet that had like a malware in the wallet, and that's why I got one of these phones. That Finney, you're an advisor for Siren Labs, right? So I grabbed this phone because it has a hardware wallet built in, and what it avoids is when you go to receive Bitcoin on this phone, they don't display the public address on the screen. It's on the separate hardware wallet. One time I created an account. I thought I had the private key to an address, but the public address that was populated was a malwared virus and it wasn't my address. So when you sent me Bitcoin, I never got it because some hacker got it right away.
exactly, yeah,
Like, gone.
spoofing on existing network it's too easy. It's too easy to do it on Telegram. It's too easy to do it on the
Twitter,
browser.
send ETH here.
Exactly. And we took a lot of steps in Celsius to make sure that none of that is possible. That's why we don't have a website. Accepting coins on the website is extremely dangerous. That's why we only do it inside an app, and we basically lock in your address so you can just no one can come in and just replace it the day later.
We've seen
So
that
we,
with my Ether wallet. You know, their domain was basically their servers
right.
were hijacked. You thought you were going to the legit website, but their server was, hacked by a hacker and stealing private keys.
They had a DNS attack that mapped their address somewhere else. I agree with you. So it's very difficult to do it with a mobile app, right? Because Apple obviously and Google are very good at in security. But when you run your own domain or when you're relying on somebody else, and they're not going to do as good of a job as the big app developers. So again, all of that stuff is to help protect the community, and we've issued over $1 billion in loans, mostly coin loans, since we launched. So that's more than all of our competitors put together. And like you said, since we launched, every Monday we've paid interest to all of our contributors pro rata, as promised, without a hitch, right? So I think and that's kind of like the trust that we want to build with the community, because if you want people to give you more and more of their hard-earned money, you have to show them that you're delivering on everything that you're promising.
Legacy is really important. I mean, that's why Bitcoin's one of the most trusted and secure blockchains. Is it has legacy. It's been the longest honeypot running in crypto, if anybody's trying to break any of these honeypots, they're attacking Bitcoin. And the fact that Bitcoin is still around and it's so highly incentivized to be attacked is why it's so trusted, right? It's been verified. And that's what Celsius Network's doing now. They're laying the foundation in trust. But over time, that becomes a legacy. Legacy becomes a more of a verification than a trust fall. Like you said, the banks have been around for 700 years. People don't have to trust them anymore because that's basically a verified, industry at that point. It takes time.
The bounty on Bitcoin is $90 billion. Like if you can break Bitcoin, you can steal 90 billion. So it's definitely a very high bar that has not been broken. And people don't understand, people are not technical, kind of look at, say, well, Ethereum is half as old as Bitcoin. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The length of the chain is not, it's a logarithmic complexity. Like if somebody is twice as old as you are, to break that chain and go all the way to the first block, you need 1,000 times more computing power than just to break a chain that is half as long.
Absolutely.
So the Bitcoin as a store of value is definitely number one and by far the most secure network, by far, right? In order of magnitude, a more secure network than any of the other pretenders who just showed up a few years ago.
And that's, I think, what's going to happen with Celsius Network in the next coming years. You're going to see a lot of these things pop up, but Celsius Network will have that legacy that Bitcoin has as a currency, from now till then. I do have one last topic I wanted to touch on before I let you run. I know I don't want to steal you all day. You're a busy dude. You're Batman in only a couple hours from now. So what about like staking and running master nodes as opposed to taking those same currencies and lending them out? A lot of people that look at, Dash, right? You said Dash was recently added to Celsius. What would be the risk reward or cross benefit of using Celsius as opposed to staking and running a node or a master node with something like Dash?
Yeah, so first, if you don't have 1,000 Dash, then you can't run a node and you're not earning anything. Chances are that your coins are sitting on an exchange or cold storage, or you stake them with somebody else who's charging you 40% or whatever, right? So what Celsius does is basically says, look, we can combine the staking. We will treat you exactly the same if you have 1 Dash, 1,000 Dash, or 1,000,000 Dash, right?
Okay.
So we pay out to the guy that has 1 Dash exactly the same amount pro rata as the guy that has 1,000 Dash, and he can do his own node, right? And on top of that, if and when we lend the coins out, obviously we're not going to lend it out to anyone who'll pay us less than 7.1%. I think the total income right now in Dash is something like between 6.9 and 7.1%. If you do everything perfectly and you know exactly what to do and you can spin these things up exactly at the right time and so on, right? So and you have to work on it all day long, right? You have to go and tweak it and check it and make sure that you're still connected and everything else, right? So here you don't have to do any of that. You just deposit the coins. We run all of the staking nodes. We earn that 7.1%, and once in a while, maybe just a few times a year, we lend out the Dash coins to a hedge fund or somebody who will pay us 15% or 12%.
So does Celsius hold the Dash? Are you as Celsius, if I have Dash, are you able to vote in proposals as a Dash holder?
Yes, we have all of that. So BitGo supports Dash. All the coins you deposit, if you take the Celsius wallet and you say Dash, the address that comes up is a BitGo address. You can check it out, right? So the coins go straight into BitGo, and then we work with service providers that are, Battlestar and others who are basically doing all the staking for us, right? And doing all the baking and everything else, right? So we basically take that return and we distribute it as Dash to our community. So we have two sources of income on Dash, right? We have the basically the staking income and the lending income. And when you blend the two together, you get more than 7%. So, and probably none of the, like you said before, none of the coin holders can basically lend out coins to someone else because they have to go and sign up a few hundred hedge funds and make sure that these guys are legit. I mean, we had hedge funds show up with fake passports. right?
You
They
lied to me
pretend
5 minutes into this podcast when you said you're not a genius. That's fucking genius. You're
it's
staking
very
and you're
simple.
getting the loan interest. I mean, that is genius. That is something that other platforms are not doing, and
Not
it's
doing.
really making it convenient for people to get their hands into this and feel like they're contributing. Like, yeah, I have maybe one dash, but it's not like I'm out of the loop. You know, the guy with the 1,000 dash, I had the same power with Celsius.
Exactly. And so anyone who's keeping their dash on any exchange and get paid nothing, right? What do you think the exchange does with your coins? Do you think they're not spinning nodes and earning that staking rewards? Of course they are, and they're keeping all that profit to
How
themselves.
is that not theft? How does the legacy
It is
system let
theft.
that go by legally?
Most of these exchanges are listed on islands, and then on those islands, like Malta, Binance is listed in Malta. They are legally a legal entity in Malta, in the island of Malta. Do you know the history of Malta? It was a pirate island. Legit. Go on Wikipedia, look at Malta. All the pirates were based in Malta. Okay, I mean, so like it's just a pirate island, you know. So when you think you'll give your coins to somebody who was effectively just running a pirate island,
Yeah,
what do
I'm
you
not
think?
giving my Bitcoin to Jack Sparrow. That's not happening.
Exactly. That's exactly what people are doing. So all we're saying is, would you prefer to be under U.S. jurisdiction with a great custodian like BitGo, or do you want to be in some island that steals money from you? So that's really the choice that the community has to make. And today, most people don't understand that. When you tell them Binance, they'll tell you, oh, they're in Japan. No, no, they got kicked out of
Yeah.
Japan. Oh, they're in Hong Kong. No, they got kicked out of Hong Kong. You know, so no one has time to go and read every article on Bitcoin.com or CCN or whatever, right? But it's our job, Celsius, it's our job to make sure that we protect every depositor, even if you have a fraction if you have one Satoshi, you're getting all that protection, right? Because that's the job. That's what we do every day. Because tomorrow, when we have $1 trillion in assets, we have to do the same job, right? Because that's what supposedly the bank does for you. It's just that they steal all the income from you,
Yeah,
right?
I get worried about the exchange and how comfortable people are with like airdrops and dividends for things. I'm like, if you're holding, Tron on an exchange, that blockchain gets a lot of airdrops because shitcoins get built on Tron all the time. They give it away for free. That exchange is stealing all of your airdrops and profiting off of your loss. And that's just one of hundreds of ways that people are getting ripped off by exchanges today. What I'm worried about is they're bringing their legacy complacency over. Like, they're so complacent to being screwed that they don't mind Binance fucking them over and not giving them interest because they're investing in something that's making them 10-20% a month instead of 1-2% a year. They're happy. They're happy getting screwed.
Exactly. They don't know about all of this other stuff. You've been in it for years. You know every detail, right? You live it day and night. But most people have a life. They have a job, and they want some exposure to this stuff. It's just like they don't have someone they can trust, right? That's the main issue. And our job is to make sure that we are the trusted party, right? We acting in your best interest. And look, a lot of people can say that, but not everybody can deliver that. And that's really like, just to give you one example, right? So we have competition, Salt and BlockFi and Nexo. And the biggest, people ask me, well, what's the biggest difference? You guys are just like those guys. No, we're not. When we receive interest payments, we go and buy coins with them and we give the coins to our community. When Salt or BlockFi receives interest payment, they take the dollars, and they give it to their investors. They never buy coins with it. They suck money out of the community.
Yep.
We return the money back to the community as more Bitcoin, more Ether, more Litecoin, more Dash, right? So people don't understand that. Even people that are already with us, right? People that already have a Celsius wallet don't understand that's fundamental difference. Are you supporting the community? Or you just another toll collector? Are you a wolf dressed as a sheep trying to steal money out of this community as a toll collector? Because if you're charging fees and if you're sucking out dollars and giving them to your fancy investors and you're not buying coins with it, then you're not helping anybody here.
Right.
And that's what this is all about. So I'm very passionate about that because, again, I came to this country as an immigrant with $100 in my pocket in a plastic bag. Okay. And I know the hardship of barely making it through the month and worrying about even staying in this country. Right. I didn't get I
But
came in
that's a totally different mentality that, you've been privileged to have, that, silver spoon children that grow up into success, they just don't have that perspective, right? It's people that have come from struggles and come from hardships. They're the people that are most likely going to offer the last slice of pizza on the table, when somebody who's grown up with a silver spoon their whole life feels entitled to that last slice of pizza and never even offers it.
That's right. But I think it's our responsibility, right? All of us, especially the guys who made it, to build a system for everybody else who does not have that education or capability or doesn't know to distinguish between the good and the bad, right? A lot of people just get taken advantage of. I mean,
Right.
the banks make most of their money from the poor people. They don't make it from the rich people. I can tell you, I don't pay any bank fees. I don't pay anything for my checking account. I do earn great interest on my money because I have millions of dollars, right? So I can go and call Fidelity and negotiate the rate that they pay me.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't have that same pull.
Do not. And the point is that if we create a system for this community that acts in their best interest, then none of these people have to know anything about it. They don't need to have that capability. They just need somebody big enough to represent their interest and extract as much as possible out of the other side. And that's all we're doing at Celsius. We're extracting it from the hedge funds. We're extracting it from exchanges. We're extracting it from people who need to borrow dollars. And we buying coins with it and giving you coins every Monday. Coins show up in your wallet. If you worked, if you didn't work, if you were a good boy or a bad boy, right? You're going to get those coins in your wallet every Monday. And that's really my job. My job is to deliver that. And that's the first thing that shows up in your mailbox. When you come Monday morning,
I got to see you dressed up as the crypto tooth fairy at Consensus, just going around and sprinkling crypto into people's pockets.
Exactly. I have a keynote at Consensus this year, so I'm going to lay it down all these other thieves who steal money from you. So.
CoinDesk actually invited me out this year. Last year I snuck in and made a big deal about it, so they decided that I didn't have to go that route this year. So I'll probably see you at Consensus, actually.
Are you doing like interviews and stuff or no?
Yeah. Last year, like I said, I snuck into Consensus, so I didn't really have a chance to do any interviews. But I saw some guy who did an ICO exit scam, and I pointed him out, and they actually kicked me out because I didn't have a ticket and he did. But the community on Twitter pointed out what I'd done, and CoinDesk was like, oh shit, quality control. We're sorry we kicked you out, even though you snuck in. They were really cool about it, and just wanted to say, like, shout out to CoinDesk for having a sense of humor. I did sneak into a $3,000 event, and they didn't press charges, so that's pretty cool of them.
Yes, no, they're a good organization. They put together a great show. So.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. The whole room at Consensus last year with Nem and all the projects, it was just mind blowing to see that. So, but yeah, so let everybody know where they can find you and get involved with Celsius Network today, and we can wrap things up.
Sure. So our website Celsius.network. You can see all of our latest content, which conferences we're in. You can download the wallet from either the App Store or Google Play. It's Celsius Network. Just do a search. You'll find it in a second. And again, go find the best friends. Also join us on Telegram, on Twitter. Join our mailing list. Again, bottom of our homepage, you can just enter your email and get updates every week. And you want to see that interest showing up in your wallet every Monday, you got to sign up. You got to put a few coins in, and you'll start earning coins on your coins.
Yeah, just put 1 Satoshi in, man. You get the same privilege as a guy with 1,000 Dash.
Exactly. Test it out. And if you like it, tell your friends. That's all we need to do.
Thank you, Alex. All right, guys. So if you're watching this, go ahead and share this out with your friends. It's the least you could do. And go check out Celsius.network. Drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section, and I'll try to reach out to Alex to help answer any further questions that we didn't get to answer during the podcast. And yeah, guys, Celsius.network. Go bank yourself and have a day.
Great job.